Sean Schemmel and Chris Sabat. We're gonna sit down, have a couple questions with them, just have a good time. Come on up, gentlemen, and let's have some fun. Give them a warm welcome, guys. And there's more fans backstage that want to meet them, so they're just being.
Sorry, we were talking to the guys running the show. So.
How you doing? How you doing? Sorry, I ran right to the seat because this is the first time I've been able to sit down today.
Yeah, we've been standing.
So I want to share something interesting with you guys. A lot of you probably don't know who I am. My name's Dr. Applesauce. I'm a full-time YouTuber.
You're a what? Your name's what?
I'm a full-time YouTuber.
No, did you say your name's what? Dr. what?
Dr. Applesauce.
Oh, do you have a doctorate in applesauce?
I do not. So the story behind that, here's the thing. When I was 18, I was in a clan for Call of Duty 4. We were trying to go pro. Like we set up schedules, practice, we wanted to be pro.
And you started an applesauce factory to fund it.
And so I started a name, and that was the name, and I was the doctor of owning noobs, and
you're the reason I don't play online games with other people, because I play 40 hours a week to get really great at Call of Duty, and so when I go in, a guy like you is making my life miserable.
When I was 18
I like it because it makes it feel like a real war sim. Like,
oh yeah,
I actually went to war.
Oh yeah, you make
right now with no training. I mean, it's just how I feel when I
get done so fast. But that's how I met this gentleman right here, Chris Sabat, and got so inspired to make a video. And then 5 years later, here I am getting to interview him. And the reason I bring this up is I just want to encourage everybody, whatever that dream is that's in the back of your head, whatever it is, don't give up on it. Because when I was 14 years old watching Dragon Ball Z for the first time 22 years ago, never thought I'd be here. So just an encouragement for you guys, whatever your dream is, whatever happens in life, whatever crap happens, just keep pushing after it.
Except for voice acting, because the AI's taking all our voices and they're going to steal it from you, which I find deplorable, disgusting, and resentful. So, so I don't encourage people to do voice acting anymore. I'm just like, no.
I encourage people to be performers, though.
Yes, perform. Yes.
Learn acting. We're in the right state for
but
it.
yeah, I got a real issue with that.
And that's a big piece of voice acting that a lot of people don't realize is, right, you need to be a good actor and a good
That's
performer.
the operative word in voice acting, yeah, acting.
I was joking with Zach Aguilar yesterday. Hey Zach, if you can hear me.
Where's Zach?
I don't know, he's over there.
He's over there.
I don't know. We were joking with Zach, and he said he had somebody come up to him the other day. He's like, how do you get into voice acting? He's like, it's such a difficult question to answer in such a short period of time. So we were joking about how he should tell them to learn Japanese. That's the only way to get into it. And then he said some long-winded Japanese phrase, that probably the only one that he knows, but it sounded really good. And then we were thinking like they'd come back years later and they go, hey, I learned Japanese and I still didn't get into anime. And I'm like, exactly. But now you have a career in something that's way cooler than acting. You can now be a translator. Congratulations.
That's true.
Transferable skill.
That's right.
That is like the most awesome troll that actually gives somebody something.
Which the Google Translate is also stealing.
That's amazing. So
I'm cynical about it.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here for Collecticon. We appreciate it. The fans appreciate it. A question that I always like to ask, because I'm curious. You all have met so many people, signed so many things. What is an interesting thing that you've signed that kind of always sticks out in your memory?
Diaper.
You signed it. Was it on a child?
It was on the child, and I think had been used.
Oh.
So I said, "You're going to want to get rid of this diaper." They're like, "We're not going to get rid of it." I'm like,
so does that make it
that's
more
on
valuable
you
or less?
I don't know. It was like 20 years ago. I signed a diaper.
Wow. That is not the answer that I was expecting.
I signed a birth certificate once. But now it's the doctor. What? Someone named their kid Goodell in Australia, and I signed the birth certificate.
Very cool. That's interesting. What about you?
It's always interesting to me, and it's become so common now, and I don't want it to sound like I feel so cool that this is happening, but more and more people are asking me to sign stuff, and then they'll tattoo it on themselves.
Oh yeah, that seems to be getting.
Which
really
I used to think, like the first time that happened, I was like, "Are you sure you really want to do that?" And then I realized you can't talk collectors out of anything, so they're going to do it no matter what. And it's just happened so much lately that now I've tried to come up with some sort of contract haven't made it yet, but I want to have some sort of contract that says if I ever need like a transplant of any sort, I can go to any of the people that have my signature on their body, then I can take any of their organs that I want.
Oh, that's perfect. I should have thought of that.
It's like, sign this real quick, and if I'm ever dying, we're gonna call you.
Yeah.
And you have to.
Yeah, put your social security number on here. I have the right to your
genius.
That is something that I've been noticing, especially over the past few years. People getting, voice actors autographs. I think the most interesting story is I heard the Jason David Frank, the gentleman who played the original Red Ranger. Somebody was like, I want your signature, drop trow, and had all of the actors right on the dude's butt, and he signed right up. It's like, are you sure my name's not very long, or my name's not very short, just signed right across the top.
Jason? I'm not going to make a joke. He's a friend.
Rest in peace, my friend. He's a good
man.
And I actually met him the same day that I met you, coincidentally. And
Oh, wow.
So who'd you like more?
I'll let you both the same. I'll let you know. Honestly, like, you were super kind and took the time to talk to everybody. And the gentleman that met Jason right before me, I could tell he had special needs, and Jason remembered him and like talked with him and remembered.
Jason was amazing with his fans. He was
Real
really
friends.
excellent.
He really was. Yeah, that was.
And he could jump out of planes and karate chop stuff in midair, so that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. So
It's not an exaggeration.
He did hold the world
no,
record for it at one
he
point.
really was like, he practiced what he portrayed in his shows and stuff. It was
Yeah,
really
he chopped stuff all the time.
really cool. Yeah, he was an inspiration. But so another question that I'm interested in, both of you obviously have helped shape the anime world in your own way. Like Dragon Ball Z was probably one of the original, most popular mainstream anime that's led to this huge boom in anime that we have today. And both of you have voiced so many different iconic characters and lead characters. So this is a question that I'm curious about. When you're going to voice a new character, how do you flush out, like, okay, I want this character to at least be somewhat unique sounding? Like, what's that process look like, if you can even answer that in a short answer?
Well, I can't answer it short because I'm like Chris go first, but
I mean, it's
he's directing currently too. So
we don't always get one of the most difficult things about being a voice actor these days is that there really aren't a lot of in-person auditions anymore. There's not a lot of, and I'm sure half of you out here are actually actors. We're close to Los Angeles, but you know what I'm talking about. You get these audition signs, and they don't give you a whole lot of information. It'll just say like Kenji, and it'll say he's 29 years old and he's super tough, and that's it. And if you're lucky, you get a picture of him, and you just have to kind of do a little make-believe and just pretend he's something with no real context of what it's all about. So, especially
it's
in
kind of a
anime,
crapshoot in some ways.
yeah, in anime, a lot of the times, some of the better roles I've gotten are because I've worked with directors before that knew what they wanted, and so they've asked me to do something.
Right, and you may even be a little familiar with what they're looking for,
Sure.
since you've worked with them in the past. That makes sense. Yeah.
A lot of times when I have a script like that, the answers are in the dialogue. So, or if and then sometimes they'll give you direction that doesn't seem to match the dialogue, and so I just do what I want. And with the gamble being, well, maybe I'm giving them something they haven't thought of that they like better.
Interesting.
And so, I wish, when I started, you always went in for audition. And I do my best work when I'm working with a director because I'm really good at divining what someone wants in person when I'm looking them in the eye and I'm hearing their tone of voice. When it started doing all remote, because casting directors, in my opinion, are lazy, and that's not across the board. But they go, I got thousands to listen to. I go, well, then that's your job. So I don't love that it's sent in because I don't think it's fair to the actor. I don't think it's fair to the craft of acting. I don't think it's, so it's bothered me for a long time because when I was booking in New York, I'd book 80% of my jobs because I was always going in person. And then I went to LA and I started going remote. I book way less because and then I'll hear a guy get the job and I can do the voice exactly like that. I go, well, I would have done that if I was working with you. You probably would have coached me into that. So the whole thing's been degrading for the last. The whole system has, in my opinion.
Sean's not cynical at all.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be cynical, but it's been. Here's why. Let me be honest though. Here's why I'm so cynical. I love voice acting. It's since I was a kid, it was my favorite thing. Like I love the fact that you could be somebody else just by changing your voice. But now I can't if my genetics don't match or whatever. And I'm not 100% white, by the way. Anyway, so I'm not. I'm 30%. Well, I'm just saying. My point is that I look a certain way and my genetics don't show that. And yet when I audition, they're like, well, you can't do this because of this. And I'm like, what? And so my attitude to voice acting is like, if you can do the job, I don't give a crap what you look like. And that's all changed. And I do believe, by the way, representation matters. It does, but I don't think that's how you solve it. And then you have the auditioning, and so the whole love of it, the craft of it, is being so eroded that I'm cynical because I love it so much. And so I'm like, I don't want to sound like a cynical jerk, but I'm like, when I started, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't big, but working with Chris in early sessions on Dragon Ball when he was directing, and even all the work I did at Funimation was always much more of a joy than it is these days. With the exception of when I get to work with Chris.
It's interesting to hear that because I think it's kind of a sign of the times too. Because obviously I'm not a voice actor, but I remember when I was going to get my first jobs back when I was 18, almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know how I got all of the jobs that I got? By being persistent and going in person.
80% of success is showing up.
Yeah, I want this job. Here I am. And then I remember when I was looking for a new job about 7-8 years ago, people were like, just go online and apply.
Yeah, and it's all just, I don't want to deal. And it takes, you lose something that's really important.
You lose that.
And everybody thinks it's fine and more productive and efficient, and they're not thinking about the deeper layers. And I tend to think about the deeper layers too much and all the time. Like for example, I don't even like it when the Apple Mail collates my mail for me. Because then when I reply, it looks like I've sent it to one person and then another person I don't want to see. And I also have three-dimensionally memorized my emails in order. And so if I get it that day and then I get 3 more emails, I'm like, oh yeah, that's like 20 or 30 back. But it's not anymore. So Apple thinks they're making my life easier, but they're making it worse. And there's all these people that think, well, my way is the right way. I'm a type A personality. Well, I'm a creative type. I don't want my shit organized. I don't.
The Google interface lets you choose.
Well, here's the deal.
You go to settings and then you go to...
No, it doesn't. Here's the deal though. On the Apple one, it lets you choose, and then it changes it back. I'll say expand conversations, and then the next day it's back. And I'm like, what?
They have to press save settings on the bottom.
Yeah, so we all started when everything was handwritten, and then now technology is just running.
Technology's got pros and cons,
It was funny though, in the original, and even some of the games we worked on, the original Dragon Ball games, we would finish, like, say for instance, like Budokai 3 or something, and I'd have to go, all right, thank you very much, Japanese people who flew in to join us for the sessions, to coach us on all the lines. We'll give us a few weeks to edit these, and then we'll mail you the hard drive that has all the files.
We mail hard drives, Yeah.
Now you upload it and they have it instantly.
Oh, they're like, and now people are like, hey, can we get this by the end of day? That'd be great.
We just finished 2 hours ago. All right, so we'll probably have time for maybe 3 or 4. Anybody that wants to ask a question, we'll take a couple questions, okay? And I'll have to cut it off when I have to cut it off, but if anybody has any questions for Chris and Sean, go for it.
Hey, Sean, good to see you again.
Hey!
That shirt still kicks ass.
I know.